This episode is sponsored by JDAQA Software Testing, your scalable solution for manual, automated, security, and performance testing. Check us out at jdaqa.com. And with that, let's get on with the show.
This is The First Customer, hosted by Jay Agnew.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the First Customer Podcast, the first of 2025 for me. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Christian Espinosa. He is the founder and CEO of Blue Goat Cyber. What's up, man? How are you?
Doing good. Been pretty busy this morning. I'm happy that I'm the first recording of 2025.
You sure
that's
are.
cool.
You get to lead it off.
I feel honored. It's awesome.
That also means you'll have to deal with a little bit, rust that I'm shaking off along the way. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. All right. So where'd you grow up, man? And did that have any impact on you being an entrepreneur later in life?
Yeah, I grew up at first in California, in Riverside, California. I moved from there at 12 years old to a small town in Arkansas of 800 people. So it's quite a bit of culture shock. And my childhood was very chaotic. My mother was addicted to pain meds and wrecked the cars all the time, always in jail. And we were extremely poor. So I wasn't really fostered into like an entrepreneur path. I didn't have safety, stability, or security. So I craved that because I didn't have it. And I joined the military. And I got that there. And then later, it took me a while to unravel that I really don't value safety, stability, and security that much. So many, many years later, I finally became an entrepreneur.
Okay. Well, thank you for your service. What branch did you serve in?
I was in the Air Force.
Beautiful. Love it. One of my really good friends is an Air Force cybersecurity veteran himself. So I have to hook you guys up, connect you as brothers at some point.
Yeah,
all right.
for sure.
So what was the first company you started? I saw something about Alpine Security along the way. Was that kind of the first real kind of, multiple other people joining the company kind of experience for you?
Yeah, Alpine Security was the first company I started. I did solopreneur work freelance work for about 6 years and got bored with that. So then I thought, how else can I grow? I can grow by starting a company, hiring people, and contributing to society. So that's Alpine Security was my first real company. I started in 2014 and sold it in 2020.
You got bored. That was the first time I've ever heard anybody say that over 200 episodes. You got bored of doing freelancing, so you decided to start a company. Talk to me a little bit about that, right? Because like most people I talk to are trying to figure out how to get out of the 9-to-5 into the freelancing and then eventually start a business and like kind of following that path. Yours maybe seemed a little more calculated. What made you bored about freelancing? Like what did you kind of crave that you weren't getting as a business owner from freelancing?
I wasn't getting the personal growth. I felt like it became status quo. I was making a lot of money, taking a couple months off a year, traveling the world, teaching cybersecurity, doing white hat hacking, like hacking into aircraft and things. But I just got bored with it. I thought, man, I'm kind of like at a ceiling here. I'm not growing. So I thought if I hire people, try to scale a business, it will force me to get through the ceiling that I felt I was at. If I feel like I'm doing the same thing, I feel like after a while it's a rut. I want to like go to the next level. It's like this thing I can't let go. I'm always trying to get to the next level. So I would stay at that level long enough where I'm like, okay, it's time to step up to the next level, which is, building a business and hiring people and scaling it.
I love that. I always say that if you're comfortable somewhere, you've probably been there too long, right? And it feels like kind of a similar mantra.
Maybe bored equals comfortable to me. Yeah.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you weren't being challenged, right? I mean, I think that's kind of what it comes down to. Is like you get in the motions, and you're like, I could be doing more than I'm doing, and I'm not. So how did you do it? I mean, how did you go from freelancing, just doing kind of day to day, not 9 to 5, but just kind of doing contract work, and like, what was the actual first step for you to go from freelancer guy to business owner and company owner?
Yeah, the actual first step was to basically start the company on paperwork. The new company Alpine Security is what it was called, and then I converted my freelance clients to under that company. So now they were under Alpine Security. They weren't just contracted to me directly with my social. It was with the company and the EIN.
Yep.
And then I started hiring people and convincing the client that had worked with me, introducing the new team member on that, and then started scaling from there.
That's a beautiful like note, because not a lot of people talk about that. Like that part is exciting and terrifying and like very mentally taxing to like convince somebody that has trusted you with whatever you're doing to be like, hey, I know you trust me, but I trust this guy. So you should trust this guy with all the stuff that you trusted. And oh, by the way, you should still pay me for it, even though this is the guy doing the work. So, I mean, did you find it to be a little, just kind of a mindset shift? I mean, talk me through like what were the conversations with your clients? Because I've had those too. I'm curious what yours were like.
Yeah, it was very challenging. Like you said, I used to do teaching all over the world, like the classes, and I basically the client would ask me, "Are you available this week?" And I said, "Well, I'm not available, but I have a team now, and I have this guy that is just as good as me." So that would be the conversation. They'd be like, "Well, we don't know that guy. We want you." So I had to like really do a lot of selling to convince them to take a chance on somebody new because they were already, intimately familiar with me and my quality of work. And then I had all this going through my head, like, holy crap, what if this person I'm putting on this contract messes it up, and then they never come back to me again because it's my word on the line, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, my reputation. It was very a lot more difficult than I thought it would be.
Such an interesting like thing because you certainly got to exercise some sales muscle there that you didn't have to have before, right? Because freelancing is like you're selling yourself and your services, but that's a totally different thing to sell than like I have a team that's going to do really good work and you should trust me that I can run this team.
Yeah.
Not to, so it is it's just a very interesting thing to me, like to make that switch because I've had to do that and I very much remember that first time where I got the feeling that a client that was coming in, like I could probably have somebody else do that. And that was like the game changer moment for me where I'm like, wait a minute, I can pay this guy this much and they're going to pay me that much. And then I don't have to do the work. Like that's insanity. So it is a very cool, exciting time in the business where you go from that freelancer guy to now you're a business owner. But then let's fast forward. So you fast forward, you're successful. How slash why did you sell that business? Just like walk me through like why you sold it and then like how what was the actual process?
I think the main reason I sold the business is I was getting burned out. It was also during COVID. For about 40% of our revenue was from in-person cybersecurity classes. Like I mentioned, that was like the business I started growing. So all those went away. So I was getting stressed out and burned out. I had to like lay some people off, and I had this opportunity come up. I had many opportunities, and for some reason, I thought this is serendipity. The company that wanted to buy mine was called Cerberus Sentinel. Cerberus is a three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell. I have a patent on a device called Cerberus, and the squadron I was in the military was called Cerberus. So I thought, oh, there's three things telling me the universe is speaking to me, saying I should sell to this company. So that was like a big part of it, and I thought I wanted some relief. I was getting, like I said, burned out during COVID and not knowing what was going to happen with in-person training anymore and all that.
Did you actively go out to find them or was it inbound?
It was inbound.
Okay. So you got an email one day and you were interested enough to reply back or whatever the communication.
I had a meeting request one day, and I passed it on to my sales guy took the meeting, my sales person, and he said, "Well, this is with the CEO of this other company. They're interested in talking to you about acquiring your company." So then I had another meeting with them, and I flew out and we met in person and all this, and I thought culturally it was a good fit, but it turned out not to be true. Culturally, it was a horrible fit.
Okay. But you did sell it. Is it still a thing today? Is it still around?
That brand?
Yeah, like whoever bought it, is it still
Oh yeah, the company is rebranded as CISO Global, and they're a
okay?
publicly traded company now.
Wow.
But I'm not sure how well they're doing. I know when I exited, the stock was at like $5, and then it went down to like 8 cents. So I don't know exactly how well they've recovered.
Okay. All right. All right, let's move on. Let's talk. I saw the Cerberus connection in your LinkedIn. That all makes sense now. So that's interesting. And I very much believe that like the universe kind of organizes and aligns things. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense otherwise. Blue Goat Cyber. So you sold your company. If your past is any indication, I'm assuming you traveled a little bit and then you started this company. What was the genesis of Blue Goat and kind of where did it come from out of the other sale?
So when I was working for the parent company, I in like 2 years ago, yeah, 2 years ago, I developed blood clots in my left leg and nearly died. And I got quickly diagnosed by a medical device. So shortly after that, I quit the parent company and I went through a pretty big bout of depression because I couldn't do anything I used to do. I had to sit on the couch and take blood thinners basically. And then after I got that depression, I made a decision, I'm not going to take blood thinners. I'm going to reclaim my health. And that gave me the confidence to start a new business. I felt like my life wasn't meant to be tied to the couch on blood thinners. I was destined for bigger things. And that gave me the confidence to start Blue Goat Cyber. Plus, it was the impetus that if it wasn't for a medical device, I may not be here. And we focus on medical device cybersecurity.
Okay. Wow. All right. So you tell me how it started. You were, you kind of been through the ringer when it comes to sitting on the couch with blood thinners, and you go, "I'm going to start another business." And by the way, we were just talking before the show. As somebody who is also considers themselves very active, just being out of commission for like a month and a half is like you feel like it is a very weird mental physical state you get into where you just can't do the things physically that you want to do. So I can very much commiserate with that. And it kind of does force you, once you're out of it a little bit, you go, okay, now I can like get back to being a normal human being. So I
Yeah.
definitely commiserate with that. But tell me, so what, you had a medical device almost, saved your life. How did you tie cybersecurity into that? Like, just give me the kind of the nuts and bolts, like how that connects back to creating Blue Goat.
With my first company, Alpine Security, we were based in St. Louis. We had landed a medical device cybersecurity contract with a big manufacturer in St. Louis. So this is in 2014. So we had the experience with medical devices and their cybersecurity and all the nuances of that. And I thought this is a niche I want to support because if it wasn't for that medical device, I wouldn't be here. And one of the lessons I learned in my first company is to niche down because I tried to sell cybersecurity to everybody, which meant I sold it to effectively no one. So yeah, I picked this niche because I believe in it. I'm passionate about bringing new innovations to market because it really helps humanity, and I don't want the ones that are out there to be recalled because of a cyber attack.
So who was your first customer at Blue Goat? You don't have to name names,
I
by the
don't
way.
exactly remember the first customer.
Okay.
So what I did, I waited a year after I left the parent company, so the non-compete stuff wasn't there, and then I took all of my old clients out of our CRM that were with Alpine Security and reached out to every single one of them, and including my old partner. So I think one of my first clients came through an old partner actually, which became a new partner as a referral. It was a company in Alaska, I'm pretty sure, a small healthcare.
How has the customer changed along the way? Who are they today versus who they were when you first started?
Right now, we're niche down, so we don't do business to consumer, for instance, B2C. When we did B2C, we had students enrolling individually. Now we deal with medical device manufacturers. We have a full service package and we have fixed pricing. Before I would do a little bit of everything, so the customers varied all over the place, and now it's pretty much medical device manufacturers are our clients.
Hmm, got it. And was that, how did you come to that conclusion? Did you just see over and over again that was the right kind of where things were going and you weren't, the other stuff was a distraction? How did you narrow down?
A couple things like in cybersecurity, nobody cares about cybersecurity unless there's a mandate. In medical device cybersecurity, there is a mandate. The FDA in the US and in other countries, there's regulatory authority. They mandate certain things have to be done from a cybersecurity perspective before the device can be cleared to be sold on the market. So that means there's automatically a driver for these people to have to do something about it. And I automatically, not automatically, but because I got that contract in 2014, we have the experience with medical devices, which is very nuanced compared to normal cybersecurity. It's very different. And I've gone through like the StoryBrand or brand script framework, and I had done it for medical device manufacturers. So, I know exactly who our client is. I know what our message is. I know what problem we solve. I know what our value proposition is. And it's easier to do that for one niche down client than for everybody.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Now, when you do that, or the reason why people don't do that, I think, is because they're scared of thinning out their total addressable market by too much, right? You
Yes.
go, well,
Mhm.
there's not gonna be enough customers. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what kind of TAM research have you done? Like, how big is your client base? Were you scared of that same thing where you're like, we're not going to have enough potential customers if we just do medical device cybersecurity, which I think is a brilliant idea, by the way. Just talk to me about kind of walking through that process of like knowing that you would have enough potential customers to kind of go down that path, choosing that specific niche.
Yeah, so in my first company, I was afraid of niching down. Like you said, I was afraid I was going to turn down work and narrow down the TAM. With this company, I've researched the total addressable market. I know how many manufacturers there are currently. There's around 3,000. I know what our price tag is per, our average price tag is per engagement. So I know if I capture X percentage of that market, what we can make. And I also
Mm-hmm.
understand that because I go to a lot of events where there's startups that have a doctor came up with a brilliant idea, is trying to get funding to bring this device to market. So literally every day, there's a new manufacturer trying to get their new device on the market and get it developed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the existing 3,000. Every day there's new clients that add to that TAM. So it's a growing market, especially in other regions as well, which we're trying to capitalize on, like Dubai and Hong Kong, and all these areas want to become like the leader in med tech. So this is
Mm-hmm.
like maybe just because I'm so close to the market, I understand it very well. But yeah, I had to really do the analysis on the TAM and what our price points were and what percentage I think I can get of that market.
Love it. Where'd the name come from? Blue Goat.
I like to climb mountains. I used to do mountaineering. I've climbed 2 of the 7 summits, and on the mountains way up high, I see goats on these very precarious like sides of a cliff. So I like goats because I always see them on these mountains, and they're always like stubborn, resilient, agile, and persistent. I think those are good qualities of a company. Maybe not so much the stubbornness. And then I like the blue sky against the snow-covered mountains. It's like very calming to me.
Love that. Beautiful. If you had to start all over tomorrow, just knowing what you know today, if you're going to start the same business, the same product, the same whatever, what would be step one tomorrow?
If I started the same business over,
Yep.
step one would to be do my market research and make sure I understand the problem I'm solving for the client, and make sure that look at my competitors as well and
Mm-hmm.
figure out how I can position myself in the market.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that. I mean, how do you view competitive analysis? I mean, a lot of these things are big, hulking, scary words like market research and competitive analysis. And like, I think they get a really bad rap of being these nebulous, never ending exercises you have to go through when, like, in reality, you're not looking to boil the ocean. You're just kind of looking for some very specific markers. How do you
Right.
do competitive analysis in your market?
Well, we have a pretty decent dialed in sales process. So if we lose an opportunity to a competitor, I want to know why. It's often price, and I'm not one to commoditize my offering. So I have to figure out how to position my offering so the price won't matter, because the client or the prospect feels comfortable with us. They feel like confident that we'll get them to where they want to go, which is to get approved. So I do that and then look at what our customers are doing. I mean, our competition is doing, and how our value proposition is better.
Hmm. And is that just Google?
My goal is to take over the market this year, to become the market leader. So I have to keep an eye on like who currently is the market leader.
No, I love that. And yeah, I mean, I would assume. Do you talk to those competitors?
No, I'm trying to organize a cage match with them at one of our. I'm kidding.
That's my favorite answer, maybe to any question. No, I do not talk to them. I
I mean,
like
I'm not
talking.
opposed to talking to him. I've run into him at a conference, but
I
yeah,
like to talk to them. I reach out to mine. I like them to know who I am. I like to hear what they're doing, and sometimes they're like we've had partnerships that come out of these conversations where we handle stuff that they don't, and you'd never know based on the website and the
yeah.
so we've it may be different for your space. We've found some success, and I just like to know who's in my space and if I'm at a conference or if I'm at whoever. So we've done a lot of early reach out on that. I'm not best friends with any of my competitors, but at least knowing who they are. But I love your answer. Absolutely not. I like the cage match idea though. All right, I have one final question for you. Non business related. This is just about Christian. If you could do anything on earth and you knew you wouldn't fail, what would it be?
Become an F1 driver.
There it is. We've never got that. We've never got that answer. An F1 driver. That's a great answer. Those things are terrifying.
I'm actually gonna drive an F1 car in Dubai next time I go out there. There's a experience where you can drive an F1 car, but watch the videos. You have to fall into the car though, so you can't really push it as fast as you want to go.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's close to your answer. I mean, you're gonna go do this. You're gonna go do some version of that. Awesome. Well, dude, Christian, I love the story. Love the consistency and the persistence, and I love kind of constantly pushing yourself. So, wish you the best of luck, man. How can people find Blue Goat if they want to find out more, or reach you directly if they want to talk about something they heard today?
Yeah, they can find Blue Goat, bluegoatcyber.com. We're on all social media as well. And to reach out to me directly, you can probably ping me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place.
Sweet, and we'll link you in the bio, Christian. It was great talking to you, brother. Thanks for being on, and we'll talk again soon. All right.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Christian. See you, brother.